Hi viewers, welcome back to my channel. And welcome back to the series of cloud formation from beginners to advanced. In today's tutorial, we are going to see how to deploy public subnet and its required resources as part of this template deployment. If you like watching these videos that I have previously published as the part of this tutorial, don't forget to like, share and subscribe my channel. So let's get started. So guys, in our previous tutorial videos, we have deployed virtual private cloud and internet gateway. And after launching this virtual private cloud and internet gateway, we have also associated the internet gateway with the virtual private cloud that we have created. So before we proceed ahead with the implementation of today's public subnet, we need to make sure that all the prerequisites which is required to launch this template are being fulfilled. So let's see what are the prerequisites. So guys, the first prerequisite is you have to install the Visual Studio Code extension, that is a CloudFormation extension. If you have not installed it, make sure to watch this video and install the CloudFormation extension. I will paste the link in the video above. So let's see what's the next prerequisite. So the next prerequisite is you have to make sure that your VPC and your internet gateway is up and running. So this template deployment, make sure to deploy this template before we go ahead with current deployment implementation. So if you have not yet deployed the VPC and internet gateway, make sure to watch these videos and get it deployed. So guys, as I said before, that in our previous videos we have launched the VPC, and along with the VPC we have launched the internet gateway, and that internet gateway was associated with the VPC. And as soon as we launch the VPC, automatically the main route table gets created and it gets associated with the VPC. So in today's video, what we are going to do is we are going to create a public subnet, and after creating this public subnet, we have to create a public route and a public route table. This public route table will have a public route, and this public route would associate the public subnet with the current VPC, and the internet would be available in this specific public subnet. So guys, before we go ahead and start writing our template, we need to understand what all resources or components we are going to use as a part of this template. So in current template, we are going to use following components. One would be parameters, another would be resources, and third would be outputs. As I said, we are always going to follow a best practice of using the outputs for each and every template that we are going to write as part of this tutorial series. So in current template, we are going to use two parameters. One would be the custom VPC that we have created earlier in our previous video, and another would be the custom internet gateway. So by using these parameters, we are going to fetch the VPC ID and the internet gateway ID of the resources that we have already created. From in resource section, we are going to create a public subnet. After while creating a public subnet, we will mention that our public subnet would be available in which availability zone and other required properties which would be part of the public subnet. And along with public subnet, we would be creating a public route table. This public route table would have a public route, and once we have this public route and public route table, we will associate the public subnet with the public route table. After writing the resources, we are going to make sure that we write the outputs. And if you see in outputs, what we have mentioned output VPC. This would give us the same VPC ID that we have mentioned in the parameters. Then output public subnets, the resource which would be created as part of public subnet. The same for route table, public route table, and association. So whatever resources would be created as part of this template, the IDs of that specific resources would be printed as part of our output in our CloudFormation implementation, and we can see that from our CloudFormation dashboard. So let's go ahead and start coding. So let's jump to the Visual Studio Code and start writing our code. So let's go ahead and create a new YAML file. Okay, so our file is created, public subnet underscore associate.yaml. So in this, I will first write start. Now, after writing start, as I informed in my previous explanation, we are going to use three things, that is resources, outputs, and parameters. So let's remove things which are not required. Okay, So conditions are also not required. Now, as a part of best practice, first we will go ahead and write a description for this specific template. Okay, so the description for this would be: this template will create public subnet, public route table, associate that route table to public subnet. So now let's go ahead and start writing our parameters. Make sure to use uh, add double space over here before or adding the parameters. Okay, so I will write parameter. Okay, so the parameter name would be custom VPC, and over here we are going to mention the type. Now the type would be our VPC. Okay, so for mentioning the type of ID, what I will do, I will just go to my console. Over here I will write AWS CloudFormation parameters. Okay. So in parameters I will just search for, okay. So this is supported AWS specific parameter types. So over here I would require VPC. So this is VPC, yes. So we need VPC ID. So in type, I will just copy this VPC ID and I will go back over here and I will mention the VPC ID. Now, after mentioning the VPC ID, in default, what we are going to mention, we are going to mention the VPC that we have already created. So as I said you, as part of prerequisite, we have already created a VPC. I will show you in the CloudFormation stack. This is the VPC that I have already created. I will just go over here in that VPC, and as part of outputs that we have printed, I will just copy the VPC name and I will paste it over here. Okay, so our one of our parameters is created successfully. Now let's go ahead and print the next parameter, again double space parameter. So this time it would be custom internet gateway that we have already created. Gateway. Now over here, so if you go over here in the documentation, you won't see anything for internet gateway. Internet, see, internet gateway. Search with internet or gateway. So there is no supported AWS parameter that you can use as part of this. Okay, so in that scenario, what we are going to do? So these are the only supported parameters. Okay, so as we don't have it, what we will do, we will go back to the code over here. I'm just going to mention the type as string. Okay, and in default value, I'm just going to paste my. We'll go to stack, and if you see the internet gateway that we have already created from outputs, I will just copy the internet gateway ID over here, and I will go over here and paste it. Okay, so now two of our parameters have been created successfully. Now let's go ahead and launch our public subnet. So over here again, make sure to give double space. By any chance, if you forgot, for example, if I will write public subnet over here, subnet. See, by any chance, if I write this and I forgot to add the space over here, don't forget that we have added one plugin, that is indent one space. We can use that plugin. In that, you have to select everything over here and you have to give double space. Okay, so over here now I will mention the subnet name. The subnet would be public subnet. Now, sorry for the typo. Now this is a type for subnet. I will just copy this. Go back to our Google search. Over here I will just paste this. Now let's see the CloudFormation documentation. what is required. Just copy this, Control F. So instead of no, just write yes over here. So guys, as you can see, VPC ID is compulsory as part of this resource. So to launch this resource, you have to make sure that VPC ID is present. So let's go back to our code. So over here, we have to mention the VPC ID. So we are not creating the VPC ID in the current template itself. As we have already created, we are going to use that specific VPC ID over here. So in that scenario, what I'm going to do is I am just going to refer this parameter that I have created. Exclamation, sorry, refer the parameter. Okay. Now I have to mention the CIDR block. Now, what is CIDR block and how you can segregate it? I will show you a small trick by using which it would be easy for you to segregate based on your requirement. So let's go ahead and check. Okay, so once you go to the Google console, just type over here CIDR David C. This is a very fantastic calculator by using which you can segregate your addresses while launching the subnets. So you can get the IDs over here. I mean to say the subnet addresses. So let me show you an example. So let me go back over here into my stack. Okay, if I don't remember what is the uh, range that I have provided in my stack, I will go to template. So from there you can see the CIDR block that has been mentioned over here. I will just copy and I will go to this calculator over here. I will just paste this. Remove 20. Now over here, just make sure you give the same mask bit, that is 24, and click on update. So guys, as you can see, now you get the range of addresses. Now for example, suppose if you have to divide this subnet addresses into multiple subnets. So for example, if I click on divide, you can see it has been divided into two ranges, subnet ranges. One is from 0 and another is from 128. Okay. Now, if you want to further segregate this, so for this one, as this is from 0 to 128, so the host are 126. So if I divide this, so now you can see that 126 is divided into two more subnet addresses. So over here it became 62 and 62, and this is the same. So if you want to launch 4 subnets into your account, you can just again click on divide over here. So now you have 4 subnets with different subnet addresses. So in our scenario, what we are going to do is I will just reset it. So after resetting, we are going to create only 2 subnets. One is public and one is private. So I will just divide this once. So I will just copy this. Okay. So the CIDR block, sorry, I will just copy the CIDR block over here. And I will paste it in our code. So guys, in zone ID, as I said previously, while we are launching this public subnet, we have to make sure that in which zone this subnet is going to get created. So currently my region, if you see over here, you have to make sure in which region you are. So if you see you are in US East 1 region, and based on this US East 1 region, just make sure that how many availability zones are there as part of this specific region. So let's go ahead. So over here, I am just going to mention one availability zone. Okay. Let's go to the code, and I will mention the availability zone over here. So guys, in this I have used the select intrinsic function and I have used the get AZs. So before we use it, let's make sure to understand what exactly it is. So let's see AWS CloudFormation select So this intrinsic function returns a single object from a list of objects by index. Okay, and the next one is get AZs. Let's search it. This is again a function, if you see. So this instruction function returns an array that lists availability zone for specific region in alphabetical order. So if you see over here, if I mention, so you can mention the availability zone as well as you can also mention the region. But currently I have not mentioned the region because I want my default region over here. That is the reason you cannot see any region mentioned over here. But if you want for some specific region, then you can go ahead and use that specific region over here and mention it, as you can see in the documentation. So this is how you can also use multiple regions over here, as you can see in the documentation, and these are the examples which has been mentioned over here. Okay, so now let's go ahead and jump back to our editor. Okay, so over here we have mentioned the availability zone, we have mentioned the VPC ID, we have mentioned the CIDR block. Now it's time for us to make sure to give the name, that is the name would be, as a part of best practice, always make sure to add the tags over here. So let's give it public sub. So we have given all the things that are required. Now this resource properties that needs to be defined, we have defined all the properties. Now let's go ahead and create a route table. So I will just go back again, I will press on double space and I will write route table. So the route table is created. So if you see AWS route table, what is route table? Always first go ahead and check in the documentation. So let's see what is the required format over here first. So if you see, I will just paste. So guys, as you can see, VPC ID is mandatory. So this property VPC ID as part of this resource, that is AWS EC2 route table, is compulsory. As you can see in this example, VPC ID is compulsory. So let's jump back to our editor. Over here we just have to copy paste this reference custom VPC. I will just put it over here. Okay, so that is the only one which is required. So along with that I will just copy and I will also provide the name over here, public route table. Okay, so now let's change the name of the resource also, that is public route table. Now I will go back over here. Now I will give double space. So after giving double space, now what we have to create, we have created public subnet, we have created public route table. Now we have to create public route which would be the part of this public route table. So let me show you that how we can do. So you can write a route. This is route. So this is the property that is going to be used, that is AWS EC2 route. So let's jump to our documentation first. Let's close this, which are not required. So over here I will just mention AWS route. Always make sure to first check what are the required properties. So that is the best way to code seamlessly. So I can see there is one required parameter, that is route table ID. So what is route table ID? The route table that we have created in our previous resource, as you can see the part of this code. So the route table ID would be this, the public subnet that we have created. So we have to refer that. So let's go ahead and use an intrinsic function, that is refer, and over here we will use public subnet. So guys, I am not going to define any destination CIDR block over here because it is not required. Sorry, uh, my bad. So I am going to give that. Now I am going to create a route in which I am going to associate. I am going to create a route table which would be connected towards our internet gateway. So over here we have to refer the internet gateway with parameter that we have created. So over here I will just write refer and the custom internet gateway. Okay. Now, so this property is completed successfully. Now let's go ahead and change this name. This name, let's keep this as public route. Okay, that's done. Now, at the last, we have created public subnet, public route table, and we have also created a route which will be added into this table. Now, after all these are created, we have to associate this specific public route table to this public subnet. So it should start functioning based on the route that we have created. The route is over here. This is the route that we have created. So from this CIDR to customer internet gateway that we have created. Now, so let's go ahead again, double space. Over here, I will mention subnet association. Okay, I'm not getting anything. So over here, associate, route table associate. Okay. So over here now, let's first name the table as public route subnet route table association. And over here, again we have to mention the subnet ID. So we already have it over here. Just copy this from here and paste it over here. And it would require the route table ID. So as you can see, the route table we have created over here. Just refer this route table over here. That's it, guys. So till now what we have done, we have created resources in this public subnet, public route table, public route, and we have associated that specific route table to public subnet. Now let's go ahead and jump to our outputs. So over here, first I will create one output for as a part of output. What I'm going to do is, guys, I'm going to just copy paste. The reason for that is the video is becoming too long and it would be difficult to follow along. So I have just mentioned all the outputs over here. One is for public subnets, which is over here, public subnet, and I have mentioned the public subnet resource name over here. Same is for public route table, is public route table, and the public route table I have mentioned over here. Same is for the table association. So these are the resources that I am using as part of output. So let's so as our template is ready, let's go ahead and validate our template to see if there are any errors which are part of this template. So I will just use one of my previous code for validation. Over here I will just write, we create the name as public subnet underscore associate, and the name of the file would be public subnet associate. So let's go ahead. Oh, sorry, this is not validate template. So over here, so the code would be AWS CloudFormation validate template hyphen template body. Okay, so maybe I am using the wrong code. Let's go ahead and correct it. So let's go ahead and run the template now. Parameter validation failed. Invalid length for parameter template body. Valid minimum length is 1. So there is one issue with our template. Let's go ahead and see what exactly the issue is. So over here, if I see So guys, I think the issue over here is double quotes. So I'll just try to write double quote over here. Let's save this file. The file is saved now. Let me go ahead and run the validate command once again. Okay, so there is another unresolved resource dependency, that is public subnet. In the resource block of template, let me go unresolved dependency public subnet reference. So where's the issue over here is, instead of mentioning the public subnet route table, see, this is the route table ID. I have mentioned the public subnet. So I will just go copy it over here from here, public route table, and just mention over here, because this is asking for route table ID. Oh, sorry. Delete this and paste this. Control S. Okay. So it is still giving the same error. Maybe the file is not saved properly. Okay. So guys, as you can see, we are still facing the error. Let's go back to our code. It is saying that public subnet. Okay. Unresolved dependency. So let's see what is the unresolved dependency over here. This is public subnet subnet, and if I go over here, if you see it is subet, so there is a spelling mistake. I will correct this. Save. Now let's go back. Now try to validate our template. And guys, as you can see, the template is validated successfully. Now let me just go ahead and run the command, that is create stack, and create our stack. Not sure what happened over here. Let me try it once again. If the validate is successful, then how come this parameter? The validate is successful. So let me do one thing. Let me just close this and reopen a new one. Sometimes it gives a problem. I will reopen a new one. And over here, let's use our command. So let's try to run the command now. So guys, as you can see, the command is completed successfully. Maybe that was some issue with the Git that we were using. Now, so as our template has launched successfully, now let's move to the next step. So now we are going to cross-verify stack using AWS Management Console. Let's see what has been launched and what has been associated. So let's jump to our AWS console. So guys, as you can see into the AWS console, if I go to stacks, public subnet is created successfully. Now let's see what has been launched and what has been implemented. So as a part of this stack, let's see the events. So in this event, you can see it created the public subnet route table. Then after creating the route table, see public subnet route table, then public subnet table association. So all these components were been created. So let's go to resources, and if you see public route table, public route table, public subnet, and this. So over here, what we can do is we can check the outputs and see if all the resources has been created successfully, and you can see all the resources are created successfully. Now, as part of parameters, these were our two parameters that we used. So let's do one thing. So let me jump to EC2 console. Sorry, it would be VPC console. So let's go to the VPC console. under VPC, we will go in subnets, and under subnets, first we will see whether our subnet has been created. So if you see my subnet is created successfully, that is this one. Now, once subnet is created, let's click on the subnet. Now, once we are inside the subnet, let's see the route table, and you can see our public route table has been created, and this table is also being associated. Now, the route table which has been created, what is the route which has been added to that route table? Let's go inside the route table and check. So this is, now we are into our route tables. If you see, there is one route table, that is public route table, which has been created. And if you see explicit subnet association over here, it shows you that it has been associated with the public subnet, the route table. And if I go to the routes, if you see, there is a route which has been added. So IPs from everywhere to the internet gateway. So the destination and target that we have mentioned over here in our code has been added successfully. So guys, so looking at this, we can understand that our code has been implemented successfully and the template was successful without any errors or deviation. Now moving towards the next and the most important step, make sure you delete the resources that has been created at the as a part of the stack. So what I mean by that is, if I'm telling you to delete the stack, that means you just have to go to the console over here, CloudFormation console, go to stacks, and under this tag just click on public subnet and make sure you just click on stack action. Sorry, you just click on delete. So once you click on delete, all these stacks will be deleted. By any chance, if you forgot to delete this on your personal account, it will be chargeable. So make sure to delete this. So guys, that brings us to the end of this tutorial. If you like the tutorial, don't forget to like, share and subscribe. And if you have any queries, don't forget to mention that in the comments, and I will try my level best to answer those queries which has been asked by you. Thank you for watching this tutorial, guys. Have a great day ahead.